Well, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. This is Regina Clark here in Colorado Springs. The snow has melted and the ground has been watered, and we are so very thankful. It's been a really dry winter here, so yay for all of that. So, I have something today that I just saw actually last week in my husband's office on the wall, and I don't know how I missed it. He said he's had it for a while. Usually we share these things, but I thought it was really awesome, and it's called I Choose. And I'll have that posted here so you can look at it. But I wanted to read it to you to start. It says, I choose to live by choice, not chance, to be motivated, not manipulated, to be useful, not used, to make changes, not excuses, to excel, not compete. I choose self esteem, not self pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, not to the random opinions of others. And isn't that wonderful? I love that. I love what it says, and I love being able to think about living an intentional life, right? What is something in your life that either that you love, you can be intentional and focus on what you love or on what you want to be different. So, the big thing that I see and that I'm experiencing is the practice, that it takes practice and practice and practice and more practice. So often we want to be great at something, or we see somebody else and we think, God, if I could do it like them. And we don't realize everything that's gone on behind the scenes and everything they've done to get into the place that they are. So, if one of the things that I was listening to a podcast, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second, but she was talking about practicing and this idea that if you don't do it when times are good, it's going to be more difficult when times are bad. She happened to be talking about a gratitude practice, 20 or 30 years, so that when a hurricane took her home, and even in those really hard moments, if we are practiced up, it will be easier when the going gets tough. And so, actually, I'll go ahead and say it now because I thought it was really great. So this was a Brene Brown podcast, and let me see, I've got her name. I'm not familiar with her. Her name is Karen Walrond, and she was talking about a book that she wrote called The Light Maker's Manifesto: Working for Change Without Losing Your Joy. And so in the book, she was talking about um, well, in the book, she had two chapters on one was on self compassion and one was on self care. And in this interview with Brene, she said, if I had it to do over, I think I would have moved those chapters to the front of the book because if we front load, she said, with these things, then we're going to be better off. So oftentimes we go hard, we hit a wall, and then we go, oh, I better take care of myself, right? So this is more of what we see happens. So we wait until we're spent or exhausted to do something for ourselves, to stop and to regenerate. So I thought that was an amazing point. And just because of this space that I'm in this transitional time and the practices that I started in December, faithful. I've never been this faithful to the practices that I have. I'm adding some, I'm taking some away, but man, it's super important to me, this self-care piece. And so I can really understand what she's talking about. If you front load with the self-care, the self-compassion, and those things, you're going to have more to give to other people. And so this I thought was really great. One of the other things she talked about was understanding how there's a natural order to life. Okay. And I know we know this, it's not rocket science, but what a great thing to be reminded of, that there is an ebb and a flow. We see it in nature with the ocean and the tides. We see it with the moon every month. There is a waxing and there is a waning. We see it in the seasons. We know that the winter, I've talked about that, the time to go inside, the time to gather everything that you're going to need to sprout in the spring, and then to continue through the other seasons and have the all have a reason and a rhythm and a rhyme and a purpose. And then there is our breath. There is the inhale and the exhale. And it has to have both pieces. If you don't have both pieces, you're not going to be here very long. There is the inhale of the oxygen, the exhale, the carbon dioxide. It's crazy important to our lives. So it's both and. And so I think recognizing, there was another, I think another example, um, the ebb and flow, inhale, exhale. Well, I was personally thinking about a time for giving and a time for receiving, right? If you don't allow yourself to receive, you will have nothing to give. So these are simple truths that I was so excited about and blessed to hear. And then I thought about work and about rest. And I spoke with a friend yesterday and she literally mentioned these words. I'm like, "How are you doing?" She's like, I'm trying to figure out this work life balance and how to do this, how to take care of herself, and not be working all the time and again, hitting a wall. So we're going to get together and hopefully that can be a great conversation. But I thought it was really great. And I guess my point of all this, when we think about choices, right? It's a choice of how we're going to live, how we spend our time, what we are reading, what we are watching, what we are listening to, the people that we're hanging out with. We have choice. We do have choice. And we can choose to be intentional about the life that we're living. And if I do that, if I'm intentional about Regina, if I am taking care of myself, I am going to be able to show up more for the world. Again, like her book says, it's the light maker. And I want to think of myself as a light worker, a light maker, right? I want to work for change in the world, but I want to do it with joy, not with exhaustion, not with burnout. So we want to be able to come at things with this energy that is able to contribute to everything that we're doing, to the people that we're with, that we can access our more mature heart emotions because we have the practices of self care. And whatever that looks like for you, nobody's telling you exactly what you need to do. When I mention things like my gratitude practice, or I have a 3-minute energy routine. I do some yoga moves and stretches. I do this Kundalini shaking, dancing thing I learned about from my daughter. I have my journaling. Again, you find what works for you, what lights you up, what makes you happy, what does self-care look like? And we can be intentional about the choices we make for ourselves so that we have more to give to others. And so next week, I have something very exciting to reveal. I did something bold and brave yesterday, but I'm not ready to show it to you yet. So be sure and tune in next week, and I will have some more fun things to share with you about some changes that I'm making. So take care of your beautiful, wonderful self and do one thing. Just pick one thing that you either love or you want to change and focus on that thing and do it consistently. Practice, practice, practice. Until next week, I will see you on Wake Up Wednesday.